April 2021. No difference in the level of harassment, even after a lot of complaints and a lot of emails and messages and stuff. Still harassing housing, employment. I've lost another job, which is like 6-7 jobs I've lost because of probation officer harassment. And the levels of fainting, sickness and seizures is to the point of where I can't breathe. I'm literally sat in my own house being tortured by probation officers. That is physical symptoms, not just... These are serious life-threatening symptoms being inflicted by probation officers whilst in my own home with behaviour modification. This is serious. I've got 6 probation officers torturing me every day for 10 years. Every day for 10 years, I have been under behaviour modification with 6 or more officers on, torturing me to the point of where I'm fainting, being sick or having seizures. To the point of where I'm losing weight to where I'm unrecognisable. Where is this not an offence? Where is this not an offence? I am not even on I'm not serving any... I am not on any licence conditions at minute. So they've got no rights to be on me anyway. But to being threatened the way I've been threatened... Anybody else I know has killed themselves years ago. They killed themselves. Any one of my friends gets put through the treatment I've been put through, they'd have killed themselves years ago. Hands down. They'd have killed themselves years ago. They wouldn't have even lasted. They wouldn't have even... The majority of my friends would not have even got out of jail. They would not have even got out of jail from the treatment from probation officers. Gospel truth. The majority of my friends would not have even got out... They would have been dead years ago if they'd have got put through what I'd have got through. And that's hard to explain to people because they think that because they're on £22,000 and they're supposed to be keeping the law and stuff and fighting criminals, they don't do the dirtiest things. I reckon what they've put me through is one of the most serious crimes. It's torture over 10 years, over the best parts of my life. So, I've lost since I was 19 years old, 20 years old, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 6, 7 and 8. All through torture and harassment, meaning I've had no life in 10 years for the best parts of my life, where I'm looking to get a mortgage, get an education and get on with my life. I was 19 years old. People get locked up for just a street fight or a offhanded comment. Sometimes they get locked up for. I've had that every single minute or every day for 10 years without a conviction. Didn't even have I've been institutionalised in my own home without a conviction. Beyond belief, I think that I am that stumped. I am literally that stumped on what to do. I have no idea what to do. Even getting a solicitor can't undo it because they've nearly killed me 5 or 6 times. They've nearly suffocated me in my sleep 5 or 6 times. Even before a conviction. My family are in that bad a state from what they're putting him through. They're unrecognisable. They're in a worse state than I've ever seen in my life. So, most of it's covered up by mental health, but every single bit of mental health, every bit of showing of mental health problems or showing of mental health illness is caused by probation from excessive involvement and harassment. Excessive involvement and harassment has caused serious problems that could appear to be mental health problems, but they're not. I don't believe I've ever suffered from mental health problems. but it's not helped. The issues of stress and stuff are not helped. Not only by the harassment and torture, which is enough to drive somebody to suicide, but the fact that they're force feeding me unnecessary medication. They are having involvement in my family's lives, my housing and my employment. It's to a point where I've not got a life. I've not had a life from being 19 years old. I am now 28. I've never had a girlfriend. I've never managed to save for a mortgage like I wanted to do, or buy a car that I wanted, or anything, because of probation obsession. A few probation officers' obsession, even without a conviction. When I say a probation officer, I'm thinking on probation licence, not 5 or 6 years before you've even got a conviction. I've not even had a conviction. I've never even been in court. And I've got probation officers institutionalising me. I don't understand the logic of ours that's not being locked up. I've said in my other videos that I'm expecting a knock on door. Like, I expect some kind of... I expect probation themselves to be at my door apologising for years of torture and years of harassment. But they're still carrying on despite continuous complaints and 50 meetings, 150 emails, 200 texts, 100 phone calls in 5-6 years. All that communications over 5 years, and they have not paid one blind bit of attention and continued to do it to the point of where I'm in a bad state. I'm in a worse state than what I were in when I were convicted, when they institutionalised me. So there's no mental health issues whatsoever. I think, well, what I don't think is what I'm 100% certain of now is that I have seen a lot of my friends die under probation licence conditions and stuff, and they've all committed suicide. But I always remember the fact that none of them people were mentally ill before licence or before prison. So, suspicious or not, I know a lot of people who are illegal deaths. They've been killed illegally by probation. Well, whether it's illegal or not, probably not for me to say, but there's something I know for a fact is I know an handful of people who've been on probation who've been committed suicide, and they weren't mentally ill before they served any conditions under the National Probation Service. So I just find it a massive coincidence how I've now been tarred with a mentally ill brush. Like, I'm all of a sudden mentally ill, and I've nearly been suffocated in jail through excessive medication to the point where I feel like I'm brain damaged. Like, 100,000 in jail. I'd just start locking them up. You've got to start locking them up. I'm in my own home. I was in my own home 10 years. It's absolutely destroyed my life. It's not that they've institutionalised me and spun me into jail. They've spun me into a conviction. So they've behaviour modified me without my consent or knowledge into offending. So they have opened a mental health file on me without a solicitor or a conviction, without my knowledge or consent, whilst I'm in my own home, and forced me into an offence. So I've been convicted of an offence, and then they've kept me in. So I've been on my first conviction and my only single time in jail under probation. They've fully institutionalised me. So they've spun me in and institutionalised me so I can't get out, so that they can keep me in there for the rest of my life, so that they can mess around. Like what I see what I've seen 5,000 prisoners that are in that bad a state they can't be released. Seen prisoners pulling their own eyes out and dying and seizuring to death. The same symptoms I've got when I'm not taking any drugs. I've seen people die in jail under probation from seizures that I am getting now that have been blamed on drugs, and I'm not on any drugs. So I've seen a few people die through seizuring under probation, and it's been passed off as drugs, and I'm not on any drugs and I'm seizuring. So I don't know, but I've seen people bashing each other and cutting their wrists and stuff, and it's all probation. They're having bets who can kill prisoners first and who can kill people first. I've had a dozen or so people suspiciously die around me, a random heart attacks and stuff. And prisons are full. But they don't. You're not locking them up. There's nobody locking them up. It's a serious crime. It's an offence. I'd pass sentence on to them. I don't know, but it's wrecked my life, and they're not doing anything to correct the problem. Despite no matter what channel I use, ombudsman, complaints, forums, phone calls, solicitors, they're just leaving me in the community institutionalised, ripping me to pieces where I'm seizuring, having nosebleeds, in the same way I've seen people die under them. So I'd call it neglect. I'd say they're neglecting the responsibilities. I'd say that they're not allowing me work to pay for solicitors, or to pay for rent, or to pay for basic amenities, or to pay for anything. They're not allowing me housing. They're constantly harassing my housing. I'm constantly in court and stuff. This is just everyday basic stuff. Illegal harassment. Every single girl I meet. I've never had a girlfriend because of how much they're harassing women. They've harassed every single girl I've ever spoke to, ever. Which means there's no chance of having children. I would never have children under this amount of harassment. It's not possible to have children under this. I've got 6 people. 6 offenders, 6 offending officers having involvement in every single minute of every day of my life, whilst I'm trying to do GCSEs and trying to move on with my life. No chance. It's not possible to have a child. It's not possible to finish this GCSE I'm revising. It's not even possible to read a book. It's not possible to watch TV because of how much they're ripping me to pieces. It's not possible to just do the basic stuff from how badly they've institutionalised me. That's for 10 years before a conviction. That is how serious it is, and this is why I have no idea how nobody's knocked on my door and said, look, this is a crime, we need to address this crime. This is 10 years where I'm being sick, fainting, without drugs for the majority of it, and without a conviction or a solicitor for the majority of it, and especially without my consent. And I've made it clear that it's having serious implications. The amount of faintings directly from behaviour modification. That's the only word I know it as. That's all I know it as. And they're classing it as killing strong bloodlines. Apparently it's a nice feeling to kill a strong professional bloodline with no consequences or repercussions. But apparently killing strong bloodlines is not only legal, but it's encouraged amongst these young 22 grand a year low-level students that are just murdering people in their own home. It's like I said, they've deliberately gone after something that they should not be on, knowing they've got no consequences, and it's cost me my life. It's literally ruined my life. And the thing is, they've done it illegally. They've done it in my own home. So it's not like I was in jail anyway. I was in my own home trying to get alive, trying to get a mortgage, and they've opened mental health charters on both me and my grandmother. I've ended up in jail, she's ended up dead. But the thing is, they've never got me out of jail. So all at 19-year-old, with all your life in front of you, wanting to do with everything, your life's in front of you, and you're being institutionalised without your knowledge or without your consent, or even better, without a conviction, because I was not an offender. So why are they institutionalising my own home? What? Beyond, I'm stumped. I don't know what to do. I'm literally that stumped. It's unbelievable how they're not locked up. It shouldn't be using that on me anyway, whether I were in jail or not. But for 10 years to put up with the harassment and torture I've put with. Wow, I know a lot of people who are my friends, who are professional people, who have got educations with a lot more, that are a lot more accredited with. They're a lot more qualified than the probation officers that are on me, a lot of my friends. But they would never ever last as long as what I have through my torture. If I were to explain the depth of torture to anybody I knew, to my friends or family, or even my family, a considerable amount more money than the probation officers, and I could not explain to them the torture I've gone through. They would not believe it. Did nobody believe it? It's silly. It's illegal and it's a crime. It's wrecked my life. I'm 28 years old putting up with 10 years of harassment, and I'm not even on licence.